Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Wednesday Talking Town, the match day preview, the show that gears up for the weekend. It is, of course, Wednesday of the hump day, but as I'm looking ahead to what is Charlton. Is it a tough test? Let me know in the live chat what you think may be coming our way this weekend. Lots of you already active, which I absolutely love to see. Also, let me know your 3-word reviews on last night. I'll try and get as many as I can on the screen. I'll ask the two guys and anybody else that comes on the show your 3-word reviews of last night. Looking forward to reading some of those. Before we go any further into the video, if you do want to support the platform, you can do so by kofi, become a Talking Town Fifth Standard, or hit the join button on YouTube. You also have the super chat option. All super chats are read out. So let's kick things off with the Orford Fisherman. Are you a cousin of our fisherman, the Orford Fisherman? Lee Brown, evening, everyone. Fantastic support last night. Well done to everyone who travelled. Colin says, breaking news, Plymouth Argyle will crack soon. You have heard it here first today. Everyone will keep putting on the pressure and they will crack. Potentially so, Colin. Who knows? We'll keep, hopefully keep applying the pressure as we go through the weeks. Obviously, Charlton up first. But here is your league table following last night's 3-2 away win. Plymouth are, in fact, leading the way with 38. We sit 2 points behind them. I say they're just keeping it warm until we take 3 points off them at Portman Road. And then we'll be a point ahead of them. Wednesday are playing right now. It is 0-0 with Brizzle Rovers. So that is a live, updated league table. I would happily take a draw with Wednesday this evening. Keeps us 5 points in the lead. If Bristol Rovers want to, win a game, that would be equally okay with me. But there is your league table. Charlton up next. They are in 8th. We have a Charlton fan joining us towards the back end of the show to give us the Charlton Scout report. For those that were with us on Monday, you'll know we did the same for Port Vale. It worked quite well, and we won. So I thought, keep the tradition up where we can. And still says Cameron Humphreys class, like those 3 words. Ace's long day, but well worth it. Absolutely love that. So 3-word reviews and any other comments you want to get in about yesterday, about last night. 3-2 win. Let's kick things off. Haven't got a prediction league just yet. Once I get that, I will promote it. I will send you the link. But until then, let's get going with, he is Lionel Von Rock, but he probably should be Lionel Von Stan. Lionel Von Rock. Alex Wilson.
You're not going to play amazing football every game.
Mr. Wilson, Lionel Von Standing. You're just the resident substitute teacher these days, aren't you, Alex?
Yep. It's why everyone misbehaves when I'm on.
This is it. Whenever somebody, can't do a show for whatever reason, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. So 3-2 win. What are your thoughts primarily before we get into the real, meal of the show?
I thought it was a good game.
Yep.
A little bit squeaky one time, which I thought was be the first time. I thought Plymouth. I thought Port Vale were good at what they do. And I quite agree, that they'll take points off teams this year because they're well organised. Mm-hmm. They've got a game plan, and we've said it countless times in the last, 24 months. In years gone by, we would have lost that game or drawn it. To be fair, we probably would have lost it because the momentum was with them. It's true. But we ground it out again.
We did. Obviously, just after half time to concede the equaliser so quickly. It was quite funny, really, actually, because in the Discord group, Lee Anderson said, we just got to keep it nice and tight, weather the storm, and we'll be all right. And then within the sort of a couple of minutes of him posting it, I think, we'd conceded in classic Town fashion, really,
Yeah.
Either side of half time. Not the greatest of times to concede. And we did both, but we came through the storm.
Yeah, and I think that, again, that is what will set this team apart compared to other teams in the past. I think we've got a manager that believes in the way we play.
Yep.
Won't panic. We'll have them drilled, and if 9 times out of 10, even if we do anything like that, we play our game. We'll wear teams out, and not gaps will appear more often than not.
Yeah. Yeah, stick to your principles. Stick to what you're good at. With something we've not often seen at Portman Road. A lot of times we've tried to blend into what the opposition brings to the party, haven't we?
Absolutely. You know, we've spent far too long trying to match up and play football that we're not good at, trying to play the opposition game. Whereas now we're the ones that dominate and say, right, come and take us on if you think you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Come and take us on if you think you can. It's a good way of looking at it. It really is. Coxey's having a little bit of issues, so can't bring him in. Get a couple of comments. Caught Freddie. Credit Freddie for being at the right place at the right time. Huge chance for the Rovers, says Ben. Ben's obviously our resident scout of all games. He'll keep us up to date with what's going on. I've got the lead table in front of me, and when it changes, I'll let you know. But, you know, as long as we handle our business, Alex, that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, we can't get bogged down on what other teams are doing, and that's the nice thing about this year. We're not that team relying on other teams to. Our destiny's in our own hands.
Destiny in our own hands. I like that.
You know, and you got to think about it. How many points did we take off newly promoted sides last year? 1. Whereas we've taken 6 this year.
Yeah. It's been a total turnaround in that regards. Stephen, we've got Mike D. Patchy pitch Preval. I was saying it was a bad pitch for the game. When we first put iFollow on, I was like, oh Christ, it looks all right. But the more the game went on, it did cut itself up a little bit. Great, Rob Holmes. Glad to see Burgess back in the squad. Absolutely. While we wait for Coxey, let's bring in a man that was there last night, Mr. Richard Moss, Leaf Davis Masterclass. How are you? You say Leaf Davis Masterclass, so you were thoroughly impressed with our resident left back.
Yeah, look, I think we've all seen how he's grown, Martin, since he's come to the club. Bit of a slow start, bit of a slow burn, but he's quality, isn't he? He's too good for League One. Best left wing back in the division, in my opinion.
Do you think we have the best pair?
Possibly. Look, we've got a lot of very, very good players, and it showed last night. Obviously, Cam Humphreys come in and got a lot of plaudits, which were very well deserved. And I think a lot of people, Alex, probably would have given him man of the match because look, you get a goal and an assist on your first league start. I think you're probably going to be in the shake-up for man of the match. I've just thought Davis shaded it myself, but look, it could have gone either way, to be honest.
It would have gone Humphrey for me. You know, I think that was where I sat on it. You know, I thought he grew into the game and did his thing, and all he can do is, we've said it countless times on this platform, you know, come in and take your opportunity, and he did that. You know, so, but I also think this shouldn't be the thing to like, right, we start every game, because, you know, Paul Cook said in seasons gone by, you know, where he's saying we were blooding in too much because we hadn't, you know, because we haven't got anything else. Whereas now we've got the squad that we can sort of blood him in slowly and get the best out of him and not put loads of unnecessary pressure on him. We know what it means to him. You could see that from the shots after the game and what he came out and said himself. So let's just enjoy him and not put too much pressure on him and think he'll be the next Messiah, which we have got a history of doing. You know, when we get one of our own come through.
Can't really argue there, Rich. You know, we are ones to you know, see a player perform well and chuck him in at the deep end and say, right, that's it. You know, you're in.
Well, you can only hear like the fans singing he's one of our own, you know. Look, we've had that Flynn Downs, I think Teddy Bishop, we sung it, didn't we? Yeah. So look, for me, with him, I think we're in a very fortunate position, guys, that we've got, obviously Morsey will be back Saturday. I think Lee Evans is only medial ligament damage, Martin, so that'll probably be a few weeks. You've got Kamara going to be fit very soon, so you've got that opportunity to, when Humphreys can play, then you can take him out. You know, he's not going to be playing every game. Look, Kieran does that anyway with the front three, and I think with him now, he's shown last night that he's good enough to play. You know, and I think we all sort of knew that anyway in the sort of the cup games that he's had. But it was nice last night because when I come on and I said it was like the first 15 minutes, they were trying to kick him, weren't they? Seeing what he's got. And you're going to do that if you've got an 18-year-old coming in. You're going to say, right, let's see what he's got. And he obviously came back, and great technique, Martin, for the goal and obviously the assist. And then you have the conversation now for Saturday at Charlton. Does he keep his place? Does Dominic Ball partner Morsey? I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough call. Look, Dominic Ball's come in, and I think when he signed, I think we all thought he was probably going to partner Morsey to start the season. But then he obviously had that injury, and then Lee Evans has taken his opportunity, and he's been one of our best players. And I think Dom Ball, he looked a little bit rusty last night, Martin. I thought he's lacking game time. Regarding the Valley, if I was being honest, I'd probably stick with Humphreys. I would probably stick with him because I think he deserves it. You know, I think probably getting the man of the match and then you take him out. Look, I'm not saying Don Ball's a bad player because he's not. He's played in the Championship, I think, nearly 100 games for QPR. But I think on Saturday, let's see what he's got in the next game, Martin. It's all about stacking them performances up. Like you said before about them young players, it goes up and down with their performance, doesn't it? So let's go to the Valley. Let's give him another opportunity and see if he can take that. And if he does, fair enough. And if he doesn't, you've got Don Ball on the bench. You've got Kamara on the bench. You're getting some players back. Obviously, Cam Burgess come back last night. He come on near the end. And hopefully soon you'll have a Luco back. You'll have Greg Lee. We haven't even spoken about him, you know, because Davis has been so good at left wing back that it was like Greg Lee was coming on 60, 65 minutes and it was great, wasn't it? But now I think that's probably benefited him a little bit as well, Martin, because now he's the main man and he's playing and he knows unless he gets injured, he's probably going to play the whole game. But I don't know if you, obviously watching the game last night, he done a lot of good things. The ball he played, I think 5 minutes from the end when he played that crossfield ball to Wes Burns on the half volley. I mean, what a pass that was. And look, I think if we go up, I think there'll be teams looking at Leif Davis thinking, he's a good player. He's a good player. And they might think, I'll have a little... You did say that it'd be better than Cresswell, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. But, you know, with Mark Ashton, he's got, you know, record of taking Adam Webster from us and then converting that into a lot of Wonga. It's not going to be a relatively cheap sum to take Leif Davis off us, you feel. His best bit, though, Rich, was telling the crowd just to sit down again. That was his best bit of the game. Let's not pretend.
We're learning a little bit. We're learning a little bit how to see these games out, you know, going down with an injury, wasting a little bit of time. But look, I also want to give a massive shout out to Freddie Ladapo. You know, he's had a little bit of stick from certain fans, but last night, Martin, he showed if you get the crosses in, which I think sometimes the football we play, we don't get enough balls into the box.
No.
He showed last night, that first goal, look at his movement. Brilliant bit of movement. He's sort of gone to go to the near post and then sort of took a step back. The defender's gone and it's a great finish. And look, he got his bit of luck with the second goal because it's a tap-in, but you've still got to be there in that 6-yard box, Alex. And if you look at all his goals from Rotherham, the majority of them are at 6 yards, 12 yards. Look, he does a lot of good work 30, 40 yards from the goal, Martin, with his back to goal, and he brings other players into it. All well and good. I want my number 9 to get in that 6-yard box around that penalty spot and it was good. The ball, if you watch that first goal, how many passes was it? 20 passes? It must have been. It's gone from the goalkeeper, and it shows. I know certain people will say, oh, yeah, we shouldn't be playing in certain areas. Look, you've said it before. This is the football we play. We've got to be brave in possession. And we were there, and it showed with that goal, the quick passing into the midfield. Edwards has done a perfect ball by Edwards to Leif Davis, Martin. He did not have to break his stride.
No.
It's literally right in his path, first time cross, and Freddie was there. Look, he took it well. Great goal. And I'm really pleased for him now because he's got them 2 goals. He's on 6 now in all competitions, joint leading scorer. Yeah. And that's another one that'll be interesting to see now if he keeps his place on Saturday. Because Kieran, he does normally change around the front three, doesn't he, Alex? But if it was up to me, I think Freddie's got them 2 goals. I know he went off. There was a little bit. We thought maybe a little bit of an injury, but I think he's all right. I'd stick with him, Martin, now because, like I said to you before, I think that's it in a little part. Is why he struggled a little bit. Is he'll play a game, then he's out of the team, and then he's back in. I think sometimes strikers, they need to keep playing repetitive over and over again. You know, I think and if he plays Saturday, I'd back him to score again against Charlton. I really would.
Are you going Saturday?
Oh, come on. Is water wet?
Well, it is.
It was
Yes.
great last night. It was like first time I've been to Vale, and people talk about the atmosphere at Portman Road, right? The acoustics of the stadium don't benefit, I don't think, the North Stand how it's been built, to keep that noise in. Port Vale was great because it was like one end, you got quite a big roof, and the sound that the town fans made, it was brilliant. And if you look on the socials, it's like we've had so much praise from Port Vale fans today. There's a little bit of a bromance sort of building there. We took nearly 1,800 on Tuesday night. Like I said to you yesterday, can we do it on a wet night in Stoke? And we did.
We did. And let's see if we can do it on Saturday. Rich, I appreciate you coming on, man. Look after yourself.
Right, we'll see you Friday.
All the best. We'll see you Friday. Some great comments there. 80 enjoyed the game last night, but got worried every time their long throw was launched. Callie, Ladapo, always believe in your soul. You got the power to know you're indestructible. Always believe in Ladapo. Oh, I like it, Alex. I like it a lot. On Ladapo, Rich would keep playing him. You need to get regularity. I'll get your comments on that one in just a second. But first of all, let's get this man in. It's Bricktop.
You're on thin ice, my pedigree chums, and I shall be under it when it breaks.
Peter Cox. Finally sorted his issues out. He's back once again. Peter Bricktop Cox. Ladapo, 2 goals last night. Finally coming alive, Coxie. Rich would keep playing him. Would you play him Saturday? Would you give him the run of games? If so, how many games do you feel he needs now a run of to really get his feet under the table? You're on mute, Coxie. You're not doing well tonight, son, are you? You're not doing well at all. This is not 40 Towers. This is Talking Town Towers. Sort it out. While he's sorting that out, Alex, would you give him a run of games in the team?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, I've always said that I like Ladapo. Even when he's in his dry spell, because I think with what he does, being that link that can sort of hold the ball up and bring other players in, I think he's good at that anyway. And I think if he can start adding goals to his game, then I think that's that's a bonus as well. And I think I kind of think that and the Humphreys thing. If you're McKenna, what message does that maybe send if you're going to potentially drop arguably 2 of your best players? You can go and have a performance like that and you're not playing the next game. So for me, I would definitely put him in. I think he's the best striker we've got at the club.
The best striker we've got at the football club. Before I ask you, Coxie, I just want to show you a story in 2 messages. Ben Hobbs, Wednesday have been so bad here, literally, that was sent at 8:46, 8:48, goal, Smith. 1-0 Wednesday. They picked up fairly well in 2 minutes there. Ben, what went wrong, mate? What went wrong? So it is 1-0 to Wednesday this evening. But it is, I will remind people, October, nearly November, not quite April or May yet. It's only 16 games in. As long as we do our business, who cares what anybody else does? But Coxie, Ladapo, let me give you some stats on the big man's game. SofaScore gave him an 8.5 last night. He had 5 shots, 1 off target, 19 touches. He won 3 duels on the ground. He won 5 duels in the air. Great game for Big Fred. The game we all came to expect. Is this now the start of the run?
Yeah, let's hope so. As Crunch has said, if he's in form, keep him on, keep him going. We've said all the way along, and it's been said all the way along, it gets his goals from the 6-yard box, and both of them we did last night. That's what we know Freddie can do. And, he went out and done it for us last night. Yes, I'll agree with some of them stats that you just had from SofaScore. Yeah, it was really good last night.
Was that really the difference last night, Coxie? Because did we simply just get quality balls into the 6-yard box, something we haven't been doing on a consistent basis since game 1?
Yes, maybe, but a lot of people sort of don't seem to see what he does when he hasn't got the ball. He is strong. He does sort of hold the ball up as much as he can. He does a hell of a lot of hard work. And last night we saw what he can do, and he produced a bag of brace for us. Fantastic.
Talking of producing, I was sent a lovely graphic by an account called Scouted Ballers about Cameron Humphreys this afternoon. 90 minutes, 66 touches, 32 accurate passes, which works out as 66.7%. 1 key pass, 1 shot, 1 goal. 9 out of 12 ground duels won. 1 out of 2 aerial duels won. 2 interceptions and 8 tackles. That's some full league debut for the Rugrat, isn't it, Coxie?
Certainly is. I mean, what amazing stats there, but what an amazing goal. He took that goal so well, and Dominic Ball just knocked it to him, and he hit it. And as the commentary I was listening to said, he said really good. He said a seasoned pro would be more than happy with that goal. So an 18-year-old who's making his full league debut last night is fantastic way he took that goal.
Absolutely. So it's a debut we've not seen in a long time. And we were talking before you came on, Coxie, while you were sorting out your technical issues. Would you run with him again on Saturday? Obviously, it's a different test. Charlton are sitting just outside the playoffs. No disrespect to Port Vale. They are not. It's a different test, but is it one you would put him straight into? Would you go with the championship head in Disco Dom and bring him off the bench? Because there is going to be roller coaster with Humphreys. It isn't all. It shouldn't. Development wise tells you it wouldn't, it shouldn't, it may not be all plain sailing. How would you do it if you were Mr. McKenna with a bit more hair? Sorry.
That's really a bit. In McKenna we trust. I mean, it's going to be interesting how he makes that decision on Saturday. He's obviously Morsey's going to come straight back in, and now will he stick the young lad with him? Was Cruncher right? Did Ball actually is it actually games he needs? He does look a bit rusty, and I know we haven't covered the defence yet, but he missed that bloody header for the Port Vale's first goal. I mean, good God,
yeah. Rusty, but still the quality is there, Alex. Form is temporary, class is permanent, is what we're told.
Yeah, but it comes down to he's not really played. Obviously, he's had the injury. Then he's kind of dropped. He started 1 league game, had he? Didn't pull up crease in that, and then he's had the Pizza Cup, and I know he's looked sort of a class above in the Pizza Cup, if that makes sense. But you've got to remember, it's a Pizza Cup, and a lot of those teams play against the heavily rotated. So for me, he does need a run, I think, but it's where that run comes from right now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with Humphreys as well, you've got Kamara, who's on the bench last night. He's creeping ever closer to being available for selection from the start. It's a really interesting time, Peter, with the midfield selection, because you've got Morsey returning from a suspension, Kamara, creeping closer, Humphreys emerging last night, Disco Dom stepping down from the championship, not yet really getting the crack at the whip. And then you've got Lee Evans, who, Rich said they're a couple of weeks away, possibly, maybe shorter, maybe longer, but a couple of weeks from our resident ITK. It's an interesting time for our midfield, isn't it?
Yeah, it's some of these opportunities depending on where McKenna chooses to go, whether we will choose to go with Dominic Ball. I've got a funny feeling he will with Morsey. So we don't know how long Evans is going to be out for. So if Ball does come, he's got a perfect opportunity to have a run of games and keep Evans out of the side. But we have got a new signing. We have yet to see a cameo appearance last Tuesday at Cambridge. But so Camera's going to come in sooner or later, and we will have to wait and see who's going to be the man with Morsey. Yeah.
Cruncher, Town Under 18s 5-0 up over Averley in the FA Cup Youth First Round. Harrison's buzzing for Saturday, going to be my first away day. I think Humphreys should start. Harrison, enjoy the day, my man. Enjoy your first away day. Paul P, Morsey and Ball start for me. Humphreys off the bench, maybe. We need to kick Fraser in the air, says Mike D. Well, yeah, how is he playing? We can ask our Charlton fan joining us for this Charlton Scout Report in a little bit later. So, defence. Leakier than an Anglian water tap. You're shaking your head there, Alex. How are you seeing our back line? Because last night, according to SofaScore, 6.1, 6.6, 6.7 from left to right. Edmondson, Wolverton, and Danastian, 6.1, 6.6, and 6.7. Not the greatest of games for our back 3, 4, apart from Leif Davis, obviously.
But at the end of the day, not a great game for our back 4. But come on, we've had one of the best defensive records in recent years, you know, and
there are only 3 teams with better defensive records in the league than us. That's Derby County, Sheffield Wednesday, and then it goes us. So
and you change that back line up, you end up
and
doing
Bolton.
more,
Apologies.
You potentially end up doing more damage than good.
More damage than good. Is it Keogh time, Coxie? Is it time to unleash the Keogh?
Maybe for that little bit of experience at the back, just to steady the ship. But you know, it was good to see Cameron Burgess last night come on with his Zorro mask. He's sometimes. I think that's what we missed. That no nonsense. You know, stick it out, and you know when it was needed, and try and not the fancy stuff that you know you're not necessarily going to get away at this level. So for me, that there is a few. I know it's the last sort of 3 goals we conceded. The one at Lincoln was a soft goal. You know, for me, that first ball, there's a bit of a breakdown in communication. I think, you know, our keeper could have got that, and then it went across, and Danassian was just asleep. And then last night, ball missed the header, and then the second one I couldn't quite see on the highlights, but and somebody else went for a header and missed it. You know, if they get them headers, then the chances are that's not going to be goals, but. Yeah, perhaps it is time for Keown. Just that's probably might be too soon for Burgess to come back in.
Possibly.
Sorry, Alex, you disagree with me?
No, it's good to have disagreements. It's good, you know. Alex is right in one respect. You could do more damage than good. We have conceded in the league 14 goals. Wednesday 13, Bolton 11, and Derby conceded 12. So you know when you look at it as a body of work, it's been pretty darn good. But you know, last night 2 goals away at Port Vale, Alex. Before that, you know, you can clean sheet at home to Derby. You conceded 1 against Lincoln, 1 against Morecambe. You know, 2 against Portsmouth. When we have conceded, they've come in batches. It seems, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah. And that a lot of our success since McKenna's come in has been built on that back unit. You know, and I'm just very wary of. Yes, for me, Richard Keogh, not at the minute. From what I've seen of him, he does seem to be slower on the. And when I say slower, I don't mean slower as in, you know, in terms of speed of running. What I mean is, seems to be slower to make a decision on where he's going to put it. From what I've seen of him, sometimes he doesn't seem to be that comfortable as a ball-playing defender for me. From what I've seen, I think the role that he's playing at the moment is you know, that experience had to come on, you know, 20 minutes to go, where just need someone that's going to organise them but to start him in a game, but not for me at the minute. I think, and I think, you know, if we were starting to get on a run where defensive mistakes were costing us points, then maybe look at it. But I think we need to remember that this defensive unit has been together nearly a season and a half now. And I think you've got to look at it as a whole over that 18-month period, rather than maybe 10, 11 games potentially. But that's just my opinion.
Something that is becoming a regular occurrence, Achilles heel of the team, is set pieces. You know, both defending and attacking, but more notably is the defending of them. Coxie, how do we get better at this? Because it appears to me we've got a mix of zonal and man, and I'm never a fan of zonal marking. I always think you've got players that that are stood still on set pieces that they just sort of get run over because the opposition's got the run on them. McKenna and Kosi. Otherwise, are you concerned about our set pieces?
Yes, I am really defending more than I think we've been far better this season. In the attacking way, of our set pieces. But yeah, a bit concerned. Yeah, but I'm not a great fan, and I don't think for what I've seen, I'm not a coach. I haven't got coaching badges, and I don't know how people can sort of think that zonal marking works. You're marking space, not men. And you see it in the Premier League, and even the commentators always said, "Well, he's obviously zonal marking there, and it doesn't work." And the only way you can, eradicate this is to practice. Practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? You practice.
I'm asked, are we zonal, Cruncher? In truth, I do not know whether we are. I think it's a hybrid mix. I think we've got some players that are zonal in the defensive scheme, and some that are manned up. If from memory, looking at last night, you had what looked like at times 4 players lined up in a row on the 6-yard box, and then a couple else 1-on-1. Could be wrong.
We're just surmising that it's
could be thinking
they are zonal because we've got a young manager who's maybe up to date, and that's probably the way.
Whatever it is, Coxie, Alex. Whatever it is, Alex. I want it changed because every time we can see the set piece. I got a squeaky bum. I ain't gonna lie.
I think it comes down to, again, I'll probably sound like a broken record. I've said it countless times over the last few months that it comes down to trust in the management team. Because if we're talking about it, if we've seen it, then McKenna's seen it.
Yeah. That's very true. So why isn't it changing quickly? Because it's not changing quick enough for me. But I want it now, Alex. I want a clean sheet and I want it tomorrow. Although Saturday would probably be better, to be fair, if we actually do play.
Yeah, but you got to think that we clean sheet against Derby. I think we've just had one of those runs when it's been the odd goal here, 2 goals there, and it's come in patches. We wouldn't have been having this conversation 6 weeks ago.
We are a couple of minutes away from Joe joining us, the Charlton fan for the Charlton Scout Report. Before we do, got a couple of things we're going to get through. First of all, JD discusses the Cruncher in the chat. Janoy Donashian, he's not been at his best, way off his usual standards. Sorry, the Cruncher says. What are we saying there, Coxie?
I'll agree. Same with Matt Stannard there. I think he has been off it. I thought he was okay last night. Nobody's really sort of. Usually with JD, if he has a good match, not a lot of people say it because he sort of just think, but he's better last night. But he has dropped off. Yeah, he's dropped off a great deal. Yeah. And he had the captain's armband last night as well. Not that makes any difference to performance, but yeah.
According to SofaScore, he lost possession 20 times last night. Well, it says possession lost 20, so I imagine it's either 20% or 20 times. We'll go 20%. It sounds better. George Edmondson lost the ball 6 times, 6%. Luke Wolfenden, according to SofaScore, was 9. So by and far. But then you could also say he's probably a more advanced defender outside of Leif Davis. So it's probably accurate to look at Leif Davis's stats, which I will do so, Alex, while you tell me what you think of Janoy Donashian.
I think. Yeah, he's not been quite at it this year, but I think, last year that curve was it was such an upward curve last year that maybe it was possibly a little bit unrealistic to keep at the upward curve constantly. And I do wonder, whether those around him just up their game that little bit more, so he's maybe going to... But we know what we get with JD. He's a solid 6, 7 out of 10 every game. Where did heart? You can see what it means for him playing for this club, and to come back from where he's come from to be where he is. I'll take that with JD. Because I want players like that have got the passion to want to do it. And yeah, he's not gonna. he's not going to set the world alight, but he's a solid hand in a good team.
Yeah. You got a lot of credit, built up in that bank, as it were. Another player, according to SofaScore, 6 he got for yesterday's game, right? And you can tell me whether you think this is an accurate score or and what you felt of his performance. Was Kyle Edwards 6.4 he got from SofaScore yesterday, Alex?
That seems low. I thought he'd doing some really good stuff. I thought it was another solid game for him. So
Lower score than Connor Chaplin, who got 6.9.
Yeah, but
interesting.
I think SofaScore have been unnecessarily harsh there. I really do. A lot of the good stuff that we were doing was coming through Kyle Edwards, and I think he's had another solid game. But he's that kind of player because of how he plays. He might he'll try the harder pass, if that makes sense. He won't do a sideways, or he'll lose the ball because he's gone on a run with it. And you don't want to take that out of him because it's what makes him him.
Take more risks, more chance for stat-based algorithms, Coxie, to not enjoy what you've done. Is that a fair, probably, assessment?
So that again.
Take more risks, more chance a stat-based algorithm isn't going to enjoy what you do. Because if you make a pass and it's got, in all probability, a 25% chance of completion, well, that means you're not going to complete it more times than you do complete it. So for stat-based algorithms, this is any stat-based, not just SofaScore, but anything in the world, when you don't complete it, that goes against a possession loss. It's a dribbled loss, a shot off target. Creative players, I would argue, perhaps, unless you're scoring goals, are either going to be really highly rated one game or really lowly rated the next, because that's the algorithm. How do you see it?
Yeah, that's probably how stats work. But yeah, I mean, it is, as Alex said, it is a bit harsh. Connor Chaplin was above him. He's if we talk about players that have dropped off, then Connor Chaplin really has the last sort of 3 games, possibly even more. He's really had, and last night he was anonymous. He really was. I know he's my pick for player of the year, but he really has dropped off. Perhaps he needs a bit of spell on the sidelines, perhaps. But
would you rest him for Saturday?
Subs bench for me.
Subs bench for you?
Yeah, give him a bit of time on the subs bench. Yeah.
Alex, Chaplin, subs bench for Saturday?
Yeah, I would.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Edwards? I'd put Harness in.
Yeah.
That seems to be the thing, doesn't it? It's Harness and Chaplin. You don't tend to see them together too much anymore. It seems to be one or the other. And then I think Kyle Edwards did enough for me. I think Kyle Edwards is making that left hand side his position. For me, he did nothing wrong. He did nothing to warrant being dropped out on Saturday. And you could argue that he's going to be that kind of player against Charlton, where they'll go put a tackle in him. And he'll win his penalties. He's already done it, and he'll keep on doing it because he's just so tricky that players are scared to go anywhere near him. So for me, you build on. We talked about Ganassi being on a curve. Kyle Edwards is on the upward curve. He's a confident player. Then you let him play. You mute a Gov.
Sorry about that. Must have pressed the wrong button there. Terribly sorry. 40 Towns it is this evening. No, I agree with that. Let me give me one more player, Coxie, before I let you both go and score predictions for Saturday. Let's go for Christian Walton, 6.1. How did you see his game? Obviously conceded 2 goals. Probably weren't his fault. How did you see the performance from the shot stopper?
Who was that to?
You, Coxie.
Yeah, I don't think either goal he could put him at fault for. Yeah, he had an absolutely solid game last night. Didn't really have a lot to do. Not really. No, I would say I already picked apart a couple of the girls briefly, but no, I think that was a bit of a harsh score. I think it's going to be 7.5 perhaps for our beloved shot stopper.
7 for Mr. Eric Clacton. He also gave 9 to Edwards, I believe. You've got 13 Moulet, love harness, but not consistent with his passing. Cruncher would go with Edwards, harness, and Ladapo. Robert Grimsley, evening all, watching you live from Antigua. Thank you, Robert. Thanks for joining us. Upper Town and Seawall at home to Cheltenham. Yes, 80 Crowder. Great to see a player Ladapo on the end of a cross into the 6-yard box last night. It was good to see a ball into the 6-yard box of quality that actually was in the right area for a player to go and attack it. Love Caden Jackson, but a couple of times his balls into the box are just not what I would want as a striker. And I question if he would say the same. Because sometimes you think, put it in that area, that corridor of uncertainty, Caden, and he cuts it back, and you're thinking, well, nobody was attacking that area. As Ladapo proved yesterday, Alex. Slide it across the corridor of uncertainty, you're going to have Big Fred at the end of it saying, opportunity, goal.
Yeah, and I think with Jackson, I think his decision making when it comes to crossing or putting the ball will come. I think I've seen it a few times in the last couple of weeks. I think you've got to maybe look at Jackson more as a winger now rather than a striker. I don't think he'll be a starting striker up top. I think 9 times when it's him and TJJ, it's TJJ in the top. And I think he's more. I think we should view him more as a winger now, and that delivery will come with practice. And he's in the right place to coach and get better at it for me. So
perfect, love it. Get better coaching. We've certainly got that. He's at the game tonight. I am led to believe, Mr. Kieran McKenna, watching the young players currently winning in Cup action. Before we come to Jukebox and then Joe, score predictions for Saturday. Coxie, I'm not going to ask you. I don't want to know yours because you are with me Saturday afternoon for the match day ticket. So I'll give you a couple of more days to really think about giving me a different answer than the Coxie 2-1. All right. Banning the 2-1 from now on, Coxie. You're too reliant on it, mate. You're too reliant on it. But Alex, score for
I was going to go.
You
go
can't
on,
go 2-1. You can't.
Team 2-1, Alex.
Only the chat can go for 2-1 because we want our people at home to feel free to say what they need to say.
2-0 though, but I do see Charlton potentially. I think Charlton are on the upward.
Scott Fraser penalty. You've heard it here first.
Scott Fraser will get injured in the first 5 minutes. You heard that here first.
Well, Morsey's, he's fresh off. It's a slate wiped clean, ladies and gentlemen. It's a, we haven't got the threat of suspension looming over us anymore. But no, I mean, Scott Fraser, quality player, wasn't used right when he was here. Let's be brutally honest. We'll come to him in just a second. But 2-1. We've got a couple of ratings coming in. We've got 7 from Colin, 7 from Stephen for Walton, 6 for Walton from Mike D. Colin Jackson, just watch what Humphreys did last night. Keep watching, Caden, please. Different sort of players, Colin. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. I mean, on Overreaction Monday, lads, I did say Caden Jackson was one of the best strikers we've ever had at our football club. That was Overreaction Monday. It's an overreaction for a reason. We've had Erling Haaland has been called a flop by Owen. We've had 3 Town players will be involved in the next World Cup from Brandon. So, Overreaction Monday is where it's at. Next time you're on a Monday review, I expect to see. I've also had Tony Adams be called the best thing on TV in 2022. So, it's overreaction for a reason. Some are right, some are wrong, but they're all overreaction. Paul P. Jackson needs to look up before he crosses the ball. Yeah, it would help, I do think. And Mike D. Scott Fraser, Cook's finest left winger. Absolutely. He's probably still in a room with Gary Roberts watching some attacking play movement DVDs. Where's Gary and Scott tonight, Paul? They're watching the DVD of attacking play. So, Jukebox time. The song entry for this week's tie. This is where, a bit like X Factor, both these guys here will give you a bit of a sob story. This song means this to me. This song is this to me. It's that to me. And then you guys and girls will vote in the poll while I talk to Joe from Charlton on to which song should go into the Talking Town Jukebox. So, our song choices for this week. Coxie, you first, please, sir.
Yeah, you sort of threw me a curveball. I wondered what that. I thought the last one I put in was "Keep the Faith" by Bon Jovi. So a bit of an old one, sort of. It's one day at a time. Sweet Jesus is usually that one, but instead that you change this lyric to one game at a time. Sweet Ipswich. So that'll be my thing. I have no idea who sings it. I think that version's been done many times. So one day at a time. Sweet Jesus.
Okay. One day at a time. Sweet Jesus. That's what I'm thinking while you're singing it, to be fair. Sweet Jesus. Alex, your song suggestion for the jukebox, please.
I'm going to go Beat It by MJ.
B-Tech by MJ.
Beat It by Michael Jackson.
Sorry,
Michael,
Beat It. I didn't hear that. I heard B-Tech. I was thinking, what? There's a song about a diploma? Really?
The diploma song, Gav. Yeah,
I've heard the Lidl song. I've heard all various manners of songs, but never the B-Tech song. How does that go? I got my B-Tech from Suffolk College. Now I'm living my life. So Beat It by Michael Jackson. Why Beat It by Michael Jackson, Alex?
Because I think we've finally got a squad that is going to beat most teams in this league. And it's got one of the most amazing guitar solos in it by the late, great Eddie Van Halen.
Okay.
And it's just a really upbeat, solid song for me. So
I like it. I like it a lot. Where will the chat like it? That's the question. If I was going to go for one, and I'm not putting my one in, it's B-Tech by Eddie Harrison, says Mike D. Eddie. I did not call Eddie Harrison, but hey, I'll go with it. Eddie Harrison, why not? It's half term, so the other half's at home all week, every day this week. I'd probably go for Chaz and Dave, Rabbit. I'm not going to say any more than that.
Bless her.
But that's what I would go for. But I'm not putting my one in. And I'm probably looking for somewhere else to live directly after this show. So if you've got a room to rent, let me know. Because I probably need it. Right, anyway, the poll is now live. Boom. Right, Alex, Coxie, I appreciate both your helps this evening. We are live again, obviously, on Saturday, Coxie, with the match day ticket. Myself, you, and Curtis will be bringing all of the action. But there we go. Alex, Coxie, look after yourselves. And hopefully I'll see you next time I see you. Town have won another game.
Bye-bye.
Indeed.
See you in a bit. Right, the poll is in the chat. And joining me live from Charlton is Joe. Now, Charlton obviously are up next. They are currently sat in 8th, 22 points. But it didn't go all their way last night. In fact, it went none of their way last night. I think they'd probably argue. Beat at home to Milton Keynes Dons, franchise city. A red card as well, so a suspension. Joe, welcome in. How are you, first and foremost?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you? Can you hear me?
Crystal clear. I wish my bloody contributors were this good with their microphone. Good Lord, man. Like talking to a professional at last. I'm with my own people. No, how are you feeling after last night then? 2-0 defeat, red card. Yeah, give us your breakdown of Charlton.
Well, last night is one of those games that you wish you could immediately forget, but will live long in the memory. A penalty for a challenge outside the box is always a novel concept, but that's what we had awarded against us.
But it is legal.
Ryan Innes, second red card this season, so he's out for 2 games, so that's very unhelpful in the middle of the defence. And we were the sort of, we're a very Jekyll and Hyde team this season, and last night was not a game that you would really want to watch again. The highlights were not really in our favour. So we're hoping that we've had our little blip ready for Saturday.
Well, hopefully you haven't, but I can see why you'd be thinking that. Obviously, one of the goals was scored by Netflix sensation Will Grigg. You may know him from the Sunderland Till I Die. Only going to spend, was it 2 million on him? Ended up spending a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it was a hefty amount.
But talking about hefty amount, we spent a little bit on Scott Fraser, and he probably did as much with us as Will Grigg did with Sunderland. How's he doing for you?
He's probably up there for player of the season this season. Completely dominating midfield. He's pretty much on top of it defensively, and is one of our players that keeps the midfield ticking over. He'll be up there for number of touches and possession against you boys, I'd imagine. And pretty much a mainstay. Him and Dobson together in the midfield as a two, just in there the whole time, pretty much 90 minutes every single week, unless there's scope to bring them off when we're losing 2-0 and it's a bit pointless, or winning 2-0 and feel a bit comfortable. But yeah, Fraser, can't believe you guys were playing him on the left, really. It's just mind boggles, but I'm really pleased you were. If there's any consolation.
Well, the manager that was playing him there is now managing in the National League. So, I mean,
yeah, that probably says everything you need to say about that.
Yeah. Whereas Scott Fraser arrived being the League One best number 10, and he left being Ipswich Town's worst number left winger. So, I mean, it's a bit like playing Danny Mills in the England team. That also did happen. So we live in strange times as football fans every so often. But Scott Fraser, he's got 3 goals, 2 assists to his name. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's 3 and 2. I think we've got Jack Payne on 3 and 2, and I think Raksaki on 3 and 2. So 3 and 2 is a good combination for us at the minute. But yeah, hopefully we'll get up to 4 on Saturday. Again,
hopefully he won't. But I can see why you would say that. Your top goal scorer is Miles Leeburn with 4 goals. I'm not going to try and pretend I know that name. So I hope it's the only time I'm ever going to have to read it out until next week. So who is he? Where's he play? 4 goals.
He's injured at the minute, so
happy
he won't
days. I can get here. That's a great bit of news.
He is a 6'+ 18-year-old who is just a bit of a unit with good feet, which is a novel combination at our level. But he's the son of a former Charlton player, Carl Leeburn. So it's very much in the club's history. And then his mum is the player liaison officer at Charlton. So when he was released by Chelsea, there was pretty much only one club he was going to end up at. And we're hoping he's here for a while because a quality player, but he's out for a couple of months with ligament damage. So he won't be there Saturday, I'm afraid.
Okay. So your top goal scorer who is currently playing then, is that Scott Fraser, or is there...
Be Fraser, Raksaki, and I think Payne. I think they're the 3.
Okay.
They've all got 3 this season, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So 3 goals is obviously your leading marksman. How do you play? What sort of formation should Town fans be expecting to see from the Addicts?
It will be 4-4-2 or a combination of that. Maybe not necessarily always straight with a striker dropping off. So yeah, that would be what I would expect. We play a lot of passing football, so we're fairly comfortable keeping it at the back, and we're fairly comfortable with teams pressing us, although it doesn't always work. Sometimes we have some scary moments. For instance, twice we passed it to the striker yesterday, so that was good fun. Yeah, we'll probably try and work the ball a lot, and then we got a couple of tricky players as well. We're hoping Blackett Taylor will be back tomorrow because he's really pacey, and it's got the beating of most fullbacks in this league. And then Raksaki's pretty skillful on the other side as well. So those 2, if you get them 1-on-1 against the fullbacks, they'll be good boys to watch, really.
Who's your most dangerous winger then, left or right?
It depends if Corey Blackett Taylor's got the boots that enable him to do anything with the ball once he's got past the player. His end product's a bit
erratic.
Yes, that'd be a very good way of saying it. So I think probably it'd be Raksaki would be our most dangerous player at the minute. But yeah, Leeburn would definitely be up there if he was fully fit.
Were you expecting to be around the playoff places at all this season? Are you where you should be? Where overachieving after 16? Where do you think you should have been?
I think if Anike hadn't been injured for as long as he was, we probably would have a few more points on the board and we'd probably be a bit further up. But we are a squad that's very light in numbers, so as soon as you get an injury, we're in trouble. And we knew at the end of the window there was a lot of disappointment. There was a lot of fans thinking this is definitely not going to be the year. And we look at the playoffs that everyone does, but it's more in hope rather than expectation. Yeah. So I think we'll probably end up around mid-table. Maybe if we can sort of survive till January, and the owner does get the wallet out, then maybe we can make a bit of a charge. But I'm thinking this is probably a building season. And Ben Garner himself has said it's probably going to take 3 for him to bring in the revolution that he wants, because we've gone from being a very physical, direct team to a passing team. And we've definitely got some physical, direct players playing passing football. Ryan Innes, for instance, at the back. So, yeah, we're a project at the minute. So sometimes it works. Yeah,
but you're transitioning into a more progressive, footballing side as opposed to that more direct nature that you played previously.
Yes, but then we've still got our direct striker. So Stockley is still a man who he scores more goals with his head than his feet, and he controls more successfully with his head than his feet. So he's still in that ilk. So we've still got some of that in the side, some of the ability to mix it up, and he's amazing at defensive set pieces. He gets most of those just floating at the near post. So we feel pretty comfortable when there's a set piece against us if it's going near post, because Stockley's there to hoover it up.
And who do you expect to play centre half for you now that you've got your main one suspended for Saturday?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Mainly because Lavelle was in and out of the squad, or in and out the first 11, and now he's completely out of the squad. Okay. And that's been since we signed Terrell Thomas, who was a Charlton youth prospect who had a little bit of a sabbatical, a few other clubs after we released him, and has come back in this season. So I think it will probably be Thomas and O'Connell will be the partnership, which means we'll have one left and one right footer at centre back. Whereas most of the season we've had 4 right-footed defenders. So yeah, it's been nice and balanced. So yeah, I think that'll probably be the two. And O'Connell is very good at times with this distribution, and at times can be a little bit suspect. But hopefully, the good O'Connell will come out and he'll sort of settle into the rhythm nice and early with Thomas, and there'll be a good combination.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions coming in for you, so I was going to fire them at you, and then you just give us what you think. You've got Eddie Croucher. What do you think of Matt Holland as a Charlton player? Absolute legend.
One of my favourite. As a kid when he was on the scene. Really, one of my favourite players in a Charlton shirt, probably throughout history. Just all action, no nonsense, and exactly the profile of player that Charlton built their success around when we had our successful years. And so it just sort of fit in. It was synonymous with the club, really, throughout his time there, and still absolutely adored, really, by the fan base.
Who was better, Klaus Jensen or Matt Holland?
Oh, Klaus Jensen, 100%.
Good player, wasn't he?
I mean, I don't know how old he is now, but I'd still have him in the team.
He always looked fairly ancient when he played, to be fair, didn't he?
Yeah, he had that touch of class, and that goal away at Highbury where he lobbed the goalie from sort of beside the box. I was there for that, and even standing there watching it, I didn't believe it had happened. It was that good a goal. So yeah, he's always a massive favourite as well.
Yeah, incredible player. Mine would have been Matt Holland, but just saying. Just
depends what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was centre half by trade. So no, Adams was my favourite player growing up. That kind of says it where I am. Max Pitchford, your midfield options look good to me on paper, although I admittedly haven't watched them barring Fraser. Outside of Fraser, midfield options, they look good to Max. Are they good?
Yeah, so Dobbo, George Dobson is pretty much the Energizer Bunny. He's all over the pitch. He will dive into tackles, but pretty much always get them right. And he's very good with the ball, very comfortable on the ball. So I'd expect he would stand out as well. And I think actually midfield is our strongest area of the entire pitch. So that, I mean, I think at one point we had 8 or 9 central midfield players in the squad. I think we're still rocking probably 8 of those. So yeah, we're very comfortable in that part of the pitch.
Nice. George Dobson, 24, midfield player. So I recognise the name. Is he being? Where did you pick him up from?
He was at Sunderland,
That's right,
and out of favour, and then came in and was player of the season straight away. So we just, as soon as he sort of got himself in a rhythm, you would never. I mean, he's I would argue comfortably championship quality.
Yeah. So a bit like Scott Fraser, I guess. A really good player, just not for whatever reason performing at the club he was at. You pick him up for next to nothing and rehabilitate the career.
Yeah, well, we would have picked up Fraser for a fair few bob, because every time we played against MK Dons, he absolutely ruined us. It was an absolute nightmare. So I'm just pleased to have him on our side, really. I was bored of watching him just run past us.
We were feeling the same for a while. Craig Portsmouth, why have Charlton underperformed so badly since relegation? They're not really come close to a top six finish as they went down.
Have you got 7 hours? So if I was to say that on the pitch has been probably the smoothest sailing part of the club for a long time, considering we've been relegated in that time, it sort of sums it up. we've had we were owned by Roland de Châtelet, who just didn't want to be involved in the club, and we didn't want him there either. He sold us to a load of con men who were just shoveling money out of the club. They then tried to we were then on transfer embargo. We lost a number of players, and at one point we couldn't sign anyone either. We then got sold to another group of dodgy characters. There was then a legal battle arguing over whether someone had or hadn't sold them, because someone else was coming in to buy it, and they were arguing who should get the money. So there was all sorts of injunctions, and it was like right to the wire stuff. And then Sangard bought us just as we were days, hours probably away from administration. So you've had all that off-field drama. And when you've got all that, you've got absolutely no chance really of putting anything successful together on the pitch. And then I think that there's just been, where we've lurched from sort of disaster to disaster, there's not been enough time to get any sort of central planning or thinking behind what we're doing as a club. And so you just sort of struggle. And I think probably we've been a little bit lucky that being the club that we are and having the fan base that we are, that we're still here. Because I think that these people, these characters, there's a Charlton dossier. If you Google that, it'll give you all the history. But there's a lot of clubs that these boys have been involved in who are no longer with us. Bury, for example.
But yes, Bury. Yeah, absolutely. They're on the way. They're really well.
Yeah, they're reigniting, and
Yeah.
to be honest, there were days where we were thinking that could be a realistic possibility for us as a club.
Really,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So thankful you're
rough.
still here, because it's a good club with a lot.
Yeah, that's it. There's people that are unhappy with the owner now, and there's people that go, well, at least we still have a club, so he kind of gets away with anything he wants. And I think the average fan is somewhere in between the two on that one.
Okay, love it. Sorry, I've got a couple of connection issues my end, so do bear with me, Joe. Procrastinating Womble, how have Charlton positioned themselves for the future since 2020? Youth development or buy for now?
Youth development's always massive for us. So this season, Miles Leeburn, we signed him as a youngster, but he was sort of 16 when he came in, but he's come through. Claydon's come through. Dickie Chin has played for us, very unfortunate name, but Richard Chin played for us. Came through the youth academy. We've Aaron Henry's played a few games. Again, youth prospect. Ella Weary, I think, might have had an appearance for us this season. So you go through the list, and there's so many young players in and around it. But there's a lot of players that have come in over the last couple of years. So it's a bit of a mixture of the two. But the academy is the biggest thing that Charlton has, really. There's a number of players in the Prem that came through, and we're really proud of it as a club. So it will always be a call for the next one to come through.
Perfect. So a youth charge going on at Charlton. So last two questions before we wrap up. Joe, first of all, one player you expect us Town fans to be talking about, moaning about, complaining about come full-time Saturday afternoon.
Well, it depends. It depends what you're into. I think if you're into or what game we play. If we're controlling the possession and moving the ball around, I think it'll be Fraser and Dobbo will be two of them. If we're playing a little bit more on the break, it'll be Raksaki probably.
Okay. So
only because I'm not 100% sure if Corey Blackett-Taylor's fit. So
the strength of your team is that midfield.
Yeah, it's that part of it. You won't really be talking about the strikers for their amazing prowess up front, because he's not in the top 4 finishers. So
okay, and just score prediction, please, for the weekend.
As a Charlton fan, I have to punt for us, and also we do much better against teams at the top than we do against the bottom. So I'm probably going to go for a 2-1. I don't see us getting a clean sheet. I know you said no 2-1s earlier, but I don't see us getting a clean sheet. I don't see us scoring more than 2. So it'll be that, and probably an Anike goal at the end. Whenever he comes on, he scores.
I'll let the guests off. They can have any score that they should so wish. But before I let you go, tell the people at home where you're from and how can they find the platform that you're associated with.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of work with Charlton. I've been on Charlton Live a couple of times, which is our podcast for the Charlton Charlton side of things. And if you want to find me, then I'll be in the River Ale House before the game, which is open to home and away fans, which is a micropub. So if you're into your craft beer, then that's the place to head.
And that's called
the River Ale House.
Our House. There we go. Go and check that out. The River Our House. Have a good conversation with Joe, and he can tell you all about how great Scott Fraser is in a red shirt. Joe, I appreciate you coming on. You have a great couple of days because you're not going to have a good Saturday, I'm afraid, but you have a good couple of days leading up to it.
We'll see. We'll see.
All the best. Thank you for coming on. Look after yourself.
Thanks.
All the best.
Bye.
And there was Joe from Charlton Live. Go and check them out. The River Our House, one of the two. I've already had a couple by the sounds of it, but there we go. Charlton Saturday. We'll be live again Friday for the press conference reaction show where we give the final look ahead to Charlton. We take what Kieran McKenna has said in the local press and we put the opinions of Talking Town's finest on it. And then, of course, Saturday pre-game show and match day live, the full-time fan reaction show. At the moment, the Force Whistle goes, we will be live with that one. But thank you for watching this evening. Hit River Ale House. There you go. Thank you, Matt. Hit the like button, subscribe, and become a Talking Town fifth time today by hitting join on YouTube or heading to Ko-Fi. Thank you to Alex and Coxie for being with me. But until Friday at 8:30, I'm the Gov, and we are supporting Ipswich Town. And Shiver Wednesday, for those keeping track at home as they watch this show live, it is currently 1-1, and we are heading into the 76th minute. Come on, Rovers, you can do it. Right, we'll speak soon. Up a town.
Crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair.